Hi everyone, and welcome to HEBED AI Podcast. So today's conversation is a part of series where we focus less on hype and more on what it actually takes to build AI products that survive real world conditions. So beyond demos and beyond pitch decks. So we're really happy to be joined today by Amira.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're the CEO and founder of HoliHOP AI, right?
Yes, I am. I'm the CEO of HoliHOP AI, a world champion in my sport, and an artificial intelligence engineer for almost 10 years now.
Wonderful. So, Amira, you're building at the intersection of AI performance and real operational constraints, which makes her perspective especially relevant to what we try to explore here. So, over the next while, we'll talk about what problem made this company necessary, where AI truly creates values versus where it doesn't, and some of the harder, less visible trade-offs that comes with building durable AI systems. So, Amira, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And to get us started, could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you're building?
Sure. So, as I explained, I'm the founder of HoliHOP AI. I'm a world champion in my sport, and I'm the world champion in female transformation. And how we become a female transformation world champion is by losing 50 kilos and having this transformation of a lifestyle, but also of much more than that. I was an AI engineer, data scientist for almost 10 years. I was working for various companies in the automotive industry, banking industry, and I found out that my journey to weight loss was extremely hard. Hence, I decided to put what I know how to do best, which is artificial intelligence and data science, to make journeys like mine a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more fun. So I've built HoliHOP AI, which means the holistic health optimization people, to basically help you in your journey to weight loss or just getting a healthier lifestyle, but empowered by AI so that it gets hyper personalized for you, regardless if it's for food or for your workouts. We hyper personalize your whole journey to make it more fun than a restrictive diet.
Wow, sounds amazing. And well, first of all, congratulations for your loss of weight. 50 kilos is huge. Again, I remember you told me that in our previous call, but I'm still shocked. So really, congratulations. And what an exciting business, an exciting journey, and it makes so much sense with what you've been through. And we really, again, excited to hear more about it. But could you tell us also what problem made this company necessary today? So not just interesting, but really necessary.
Yeah, so my weight loss took me 8 years, and it should not take all that much time. In fact, all of the solutions that you can hear about whenever you try to lose weight are very, how to say, very well designed for the Western culture. But when it comes to someone that is from a more traditional background like mine, like I'm from North Africa and I was traveling all over the world, in fact, those solutions are just not sustainable wherever you are because it just doesn't fit with my lifestyle and with the culture, with the people around me. So I realized the 80% of this, like 80% of preventable health diseases, especially in the Arab culture, in the MENA region, like Saudi, Qatar, Kuwait, have huge amount of obesity rates, like a very, very high rate. But the solutions just don't fit them because it's not hyper personalized. So I decided to build this whole AI that does generative meal plans based on the culture, but with a layer of mathematics. So there's this whole layer of mathematics that actually adjusts the portions and so on. This is, I'd say, this is for our culture. This is for our world to make it like more of a global solution. Now, when I was looking for a trainer, I found a lot of different issues that I tried to solve within this same ecosystem. When I first looked for a trainer, once again, I was hit with that issue of language barrier and culture. I was living in Czech Republic, couldn't find someone that speaks English, hence I needed to find someone to speak English. So this is how I found that the most important layer is finding the right people. that speak your language, that understand your culture. And then AI is just going to come and help them out to make it sustainable for you because it's going to be hyper personalized, also based on your dietary preferences, based on your allergies. So this is why I built the whole platform.
So in the end, it all comes down to familiarity, I would say. So when you have a need, a specific one, you need something or someone that is familiar, and whether it's related to the language, but also in the culture in general, which is also like some sort of a icebreaker when you try to just step out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah. So a short answer to your question, how I brought this up to solve a problem. I'm solving my own problem. I'm literally going back 8 years in my life and thinking, okay, what made it so hard for me and so lengthy of a duration just to lose weight? And then I'm like, okay, the problem that I faced on that specific time was that I couldn't find a trainer that spoke my language. And then when I moved to this country, I didn't have this thing available. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking like, okay, what are all the pain points that I've been through for the last 8 years, and how can I solve them with this new startup? And this is the best way of doing it in terms of a startup. If you've never lived the problem, it's going to be super hard to actually solve the problem because you don't know in depth the issue that you're trying to solve. And then once I lost the weight and all that, I became a trainer. And then I faced other problems that I'm also solving through the platform.
It's quite interesting. So it's a sort of matchmaking between the person who want to lose weight and the trainers. And what is the problem of the trainers when they want to train? I would say people who want to weight loss.
Yeah, so we live in a very like social media dominant world now. And unfortunately, it's not always the qualified trainers that are going to get the most visibility. One of the issue is that the most qualified ones come out of their education program, whatever it is, like fitness, academy, or they get certified through an online course or anything. But then when they come out, they don't have the visibility. They need like hours and hours of content creation to place on the social media game. And also, they don't have a booking system. They need a Calendly. They don't have a payments portal. So, unfortunately, they cannot make people pay upfront. So, in case there is a cancellation, they just lost their time, especially in the fitness space. Remember that fitness space is a luxury service. So
Yes.
you don't want to offend your clients. So if they don't show up and you're like, oh, you didn't cancel, so you need to pay for it, they're just going to go to another trainer. But what we're doing is that all those academies are doing a great job at educating. We're bringing the execution parts. And when it comes to, we're basically giving them visibility,
Mhm.
global visibility for online training. We're giving them a booking system, a payments portal. So in case of a cancellation, we have a cancellation policy. They are ready to start their work. It's not a hustle culture anymore. It's not, oh my God, I need to do like tons and tons of videos on Instagram to find clients. It's, oh, I have a booking system. I have visibility. Some people are going to come towards me through this platform because I don't need a website anymore. I'm already listed somewhere available. And if you
Mhm.
go and look at all of the certifying bodies in different countries, they do have this list of certified trainers. They are listed, but you cannot reach out to them. You just have their name. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, but this looks like an amazing trainer. How am I going to find that person? Those personal trainers, remember, they're very, very unlikely to be on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So unless you know their Instagram handle, you're very unlikely to find them. And you don't even know where they are located because the certifying body is nationwide. So
True.
that's how
True.
I'm solving the personal trainer pain points by giving them a way to execute way faster and cheaper because it's free. It's a free platform. We only take commission if we grow and scale together with the trainers.
I really like the vision of the product. I want to articulate more to the tech. parts. So when it comes down to AI, how do you leverage AI to create value in your product? And have you already noticed some areas of your product where it's hard to also use AI to create this kind of value?
Yes. So I've been an AI engineer for a very long time. I'm a fractional
Mhm.
CTO and AI consultant for multiple different startups. This is how I even started my first company. So a lot of people have a misunderstanding about AI. They think that AI can solve everything, which is not the case. AI is a large language model. So it's good at predicting words, it's good at summarizing, it's good at a lot of things, but it's called generative AI for a reason. It generates information.
Mhm.
And so you can have issues with hallucination, for example. When it comes to my industry, it gets even harder, actually. It's quite funny because you would think that this is easier than doing something medical, for example, but it's the actual opposite. The reason for that is because AI is super biased. There is so many information about this general topic, which is nutrition, that AI is extremely biased. So whenever you ask for a diet, it's going to be a very specific type of diet, which is most likely chicken, rice, and broccoli that it's going to give you. But also, when it comes to a lot of information about dieting, it might not be very precise in directing you how much calories you should be eating. So it might give you some suggestions where you should be eating way less than you should be because it's not reasoning in a very scientific way at most times and it's extremely biased. So what I do is I have multiple layers. I believe the most important in AI is the orchestration of how you use AI and how you don't use AI and where you should never use AI. In my case, I've tested it on my own person where I asked AI how much I should be eating to maintain my weight, using my height, using my body, and it didn't go to, calculating my TDEE right away. It was more like, oh, well, you should be eating that much. And I'm like, I would be starving at this much because of my
Mhm.
body composition. AI is not aware of that. A professional would be aware of that. A professional that knows your lifestyle, that has a lot more context, would be aware of that and would be very careful as well if they don't know your life. So
Mhm.
one thing that we do is we've got a layer of generative AI, and then we've got mathematical algorithms right after it to make sure that all of the calculations are actually correct. And we base this on some government data sets. So when it comes to AI, you've got to be very careful about what you're trying to achieve with AI and have multiple safeguards and layers of actual deterministic solutions to make sure that your AI is not hallucinating, is not
Mhm.
putting in danger your customer. One of the issues for me, and that's something that I have to be very careful with my solution, is allergies. Who would be, let's say, responsible if I give a meal plan with allergies? Now, let's take a quick and simple example that I like to give is imagine you're allergic to peanuts. I can make
Mhm.
sure that there is no peanuts in the different words. That's very deterministic, super easy. But I do need context. If I tell you, you should have, you're in Malaysia, why not have chicken satay? Satay has peanut butter. So that would literally endanger the customer. Who would be
Right.
responsible for that? In fact, if you don't know what satay is, you don't know that there is peanuts in it. And you might put me as the responsible for triggering your allergies or something like
Mhm.
that. So we need both context and we need also deterministic ways to make sure that we're not endangering our customers, that we are context aware, we are culturally aware, and like using generative AI for generating, but then having all of the orchestration before and after of processing whatever is given out by the AI.
Right. Um, I'm guessing, but you mentioned earlier those IoT devices, such as smartwatches or any mobile phones or any other smart device that could track people's performance regarding to sports. How do you deal with those kind of devices? Because they have their own setup, you have your own product. How do you merge everything so that you avoid a lot of biases and hallucination, as you mentioned? How do you process everything regarding this?
Well, they're very good. Like all of those companies are very good in their own lane, which is not
Mhm.
really my lane. What I do is I'm an integration layer. I centralize the information for context awareness and for interpretability. Now, all of those IoT devices, like the smartwatches, they all have a margin of error, but that's fine. We can deal with this margin of error, and those companies are trying to improve their services, which I'm sure they have enough team members, researchers, and budgets to do so. So they are gradually getting better and better, which is quite impressive. However, a lot of the times, because there is so much lack of context, we are losing the interpretation behind those metrics. For example, you would tell me, like, my smartwatch would tell me, you didn't sleep well yesterday, or you're not fully recovered. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, but how can I improve that? This is what I truly want to know. But because those items, like those devices, don't have the context of how much magnesium I'm consuming over the days, or how I'm managing my stress and things like that. In the end, it's giving me an information that my body already gives me whenever I wake up, which is that I'm actually still tired. So I'm like, okay, you're telling me that I didn't recover well. My body is telling me the same because I'm tired, but you're not telling me anything valuable about how I'm going to actually improve my sleep.
I see. No, it's interesting. Really interesting. Um, and also, between us, what has been the hardest parts of building an AI-driven product? I mean, you have this dimension where you use the generative AI to accelerate maybe the UX, so user experience, or maybe to also optimize your services. But you also mentioned your mathematical algorithm formulas that could also help out for the product itself. So from what you've seen so far regarding your own business, what has been the hardest, yeah, trickiest parts, I would say, AI driven area?
Actually, it's quite an interesting question because the main, um, let's say, the main issue that I face is how confident people are about AI.
Ah,
So when when you start a startup, usually you need funds because you need lots of things. And now because of all of the AI tools that enable you to build faster and ship faster, a lot of the investors will tell you, you don't need a designer, you don't need this, you don't need that. We are specialized in gamification of health and fitness as a preventive healthcare system, which means that we need gamification to be very precise. And that's not something that you can do just by building and shipping with a like an AI tool. We do need proper like designers and developers and so on. So I was told many times, oh, you can ship faster with AI, you should be on the market faster and things like that. And actually, I've tried that. It was a terrible mistake. And it
mhm.
just showed that I was right about this. You cannot build a proper product, especially when you have so much data that you're handling, sensitive data about your customers, and you have to make sure that it's safeguarded. You cannot use those AI tools recklessly. If you are, let's say, with a technical background like me, and my team, obviously, you can build an architecture and then those tools can help you out. But building everything with those tools can be very bad for you, for your customers, and for your trust, for the trust of your customers. So when it comes to AI is extremely easy to use from a technical background. It's not very expensive to use unless you train huge models and you've got millions and millions of data, which is not what you're going to be starting with. That would be not very smart if you ask me, especially because those providers, AI providers, they already trained the model much better with much more money than you have in your pocket when you start a startup. So it would be reckless to go and try to train a model in a very heavy way as soon as you start your startup. So when it comes to AI itself, it's easy. It's not very expensive to use. But if you're just building a wrapper, like an AI wrapper, then you're not going to be very competitive in the market because you've got everyone building with AI tools. Now, what you've got to be careful about is how this AI is handling your data, especially if you are in the healthcare system, like where we're operating at the moment.
Right, makes sense. Um, and you mentioned, I mean, I'm gonna circle back to startups and fundraising. When it comes to investors, when they hear AI, what do they usually focus on first, based on your experience?
They're a little bit more careful now because I think a lot of investors in the past have invested heavily in AI wrappers and realized it doesn't do everything. Like
Mhm.
it's not because there is AI in it that it's like necessarily a good product. Now, my my main issue is that so now they ask me a lot of questions about what makes me um, investable in terms of like an AI, being an AI startup. And when I do explain my background in an AI perspective, like I've been doing AI for almost 10 years. I was an instructor for natural language processing like about 5, 6 years ago. They realize, oh, she can build AI product, like real AI. And then you've got two types of investors that you're probably very well aware of. You've got the angel investors, and then you've got the venture capitalists, the VCs. I mean, you've got much more than that. You've got family offices and things like that. But like these are the two main ones that you're going to be talking to as a startup. And when it's an angel investor, sometimes they're like, oh, so you do know AI. What about you build my product? And I'm like, what about you invest in building my product? And then this is this is the whole game that starts right there. But yeah, I do see one thing, which is that they are much more careful now. It's not like 1 or 2 years ago where they will just hear AI and they'll be like, take my money. Now it's more like, okay, you're building with AI, but what are you building really, and how knowledgeable are you about AI? And yeah, they're much more comfortable, which is in one sense it's a good thing. I
Mhm.
mean, for me, it's a good thing because I can answer the questions. But I do think that for startups that are coming, if you're just building an AI wrapper, you're going to be facing lots of issues finding investors unless you have a really good orchestration knowledge base that is pretty unique, that makes your AI unique in itself.
Nice, I totally agree. Um, and let's still stay with the investors. What do you feel investor most often misunderstand about your product or your technology when you pitch?
Okay, I am building an operating system for professionals, actually, not only personal trainers, because we do white labeling for companies as well. We do white labeling for longevity clinics. In case of a longevity clinic, for example, it's going to be doctors, physiotherapists, diabetologists, diabetologists, I think we say. Anyway, so in terms of tech, because we are very flexible in our tech, we can do this for any type of industry where you're going to be meeting with a profession. So this qualifies us as a marketplace. A marketplace is extremely hard to market because you basically need to market towards two targets, the end user and the profession. Whenever
Mhm.
I talk about my startup with an investor, whenever I pitch in 3 minutes, I face few different issues. The ones that tell me that I need to build like a personal brand because they see me as a B2C. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna be building a company for people trying to lose weight, and that's it. And then we can do a membership or something like that. So unfortunately, you can't be a CEO, CTO, a CFO and also being a social media marketing genius. So unfortunately, I had to remove that personal branding side from my business. So the second issue that I face is that they see it as a marketplace, which is extremely hard to market, extremely costly. And then they're like, okay, but you're a marketplace. You connect people to trainers or to professionals, and then they'll leave your platform. And I'm like, no, because we're much more than that. We're an operating system with a booking system and a payments portal. And then this is when they tell you, you're building too much, you're doing too much, just build one feature and that's it. And then if you tell them, okay, I'm just going to build that one feature, they're like, oh, but you're not competitive. And I'm like, yeah, I know because I know my industry. So that makes it extremely hard. And I think the hardest part in everything that I've mentioned here is that if you maybe you haven't understood this from the way that I explained it, but the reality in here, there's only one issue. The one issue is that I'm talking to the wrong investor.
Mhm.
And
Nice.
this happens a lot for startups. We think, okay, investor has money, I need money, that's it. Actually, it's absolutely not the way to do it. And I did that mistake a long time ago. And now I'm like, oh, you're an investor. Awesome. What do you invest in? If they don't say anything related to like healthcare or, I don't know, like fitness or sports, then I'm not even going to pitch. If they tell me I'm an investor in energy, I'm like, okay, cool for you. Good. Enjoy your day. And that's it. Because I could be pitching for 3 hours. They will never get it. They will see lots of problems that I already have a solution for because they don't know my industry as well as I know it. And the other issue is that if you talk to an investor that is the wrong investor in the wrong industry, sometimes you give them more credibility than they deserve. You'll think, okay, they've made money, they have money. I do need that to pay for my employees and so on. And they are like way older. Sometimes, they're like, I don't know, 50 or 60 years old. And you're like, oh, so they have lots of experience and they must know better than me. It
Mhm.
is not true. It's your industry. You're the expert. You know the solution better than anyone. And sometimes they could be amazing in their industry, but they just will not help you in any way in your own lane. So you've got to be very, very careful about who you're pitching to.
Yes, so they need to be in your niche. Just to go back regarding your project, can you tell us more about the gamification and how it's working on? I think it's something that could be interesting in the way to learning how to write.
Yes. So I was at the MCC Gaming Center in December, where I was a speaker, and I had a whole panel with me of different speakers talking about gamification in retail. I was specializing in gamification in healthcare, and a lot of interesting talks happened there. There was the VP of Innovation at Nestle. There was plenty of very interesting people that do different things in terms of gamification. The thing about gamification in what I do is that we have to be very careful that the player never loses.
Mm.
Because if you lose, you're going to lose your health. And that's something that I would not want to let happen. So, in terms of gamification, we have multiple processes and it's all about behavioral science. For example, a lot of people write their goal on a mirror. So what you usually hear is that if you see it in the mirror in the morning, then it's going to remind you every day of your goal. The reality is that the process is a little bit more complex than this. It is actually seeing your face next to the goal that gets you triggered to actually continue. So that's how we do it. Like, for example, we have your picture right next to your goal. We have different levels. And the more that you achieve your goals, you change levels and you change little badges and you've got nudges and all that. So the gamification process for us is a little bit everywhere in the app. And it is on both the professional and the personal individual side. The reason it's on the professional side as well is because a lot of trainers give up their career in fitness within a year.
Mhm.
In the UAE and Saudi, it's sometimes within 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
In Australia, it's about 8 to 18 months.
Well, this is clearly a distinction between
Yes.
all of this. Wow. Well, after hearing all of that, it's hard to not just simply jump on this opportunity to have a look at your service and also to try out the social, the product, the service, and see how it works concretely. I mean, it's very interesting to see your experience and how you can share it so deeply and with so much authenticity. Sorry. So yeah, thank you regarding that. I'm sorry, Amir, but we already have to make this podcast shorter. Unfortunately, time's running out. So first of all, thank you so much for your time. It's been a very pleasure and very refreshing to discuss this topic. I really appreciate how candid you were about these challenges, not just wins, and a lot of what we talked about today comes back to building AI that holds up in reality under constraints, regulations, and real expectations, right? And well, I think that perspective is incredibly valuable for founders and investors alike. So, Amira, thanks again for your time and your honesty.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. And I hope to see you all on HoliHOP AI. Let's build a healthier world together.
Right, definitely. And to our listeners, thank you for spending this time with us. We'll see you in the next episode of HEBED AI Podcasts.